Welcome back to Unfiltered, Unspoken podcast. And we told you we're going to continue to share life experiences. You see the bomb intro. See, we got better on the intro, Katie. And that's just a little bit about Katie, but she's going to come up and introduce herself. And as you know, City Sid is going to kick off that first question. Welcome, Katie.
Welcome. Hello, everybody. How are you? I am Katie. I'm a amazing domestic violence survivor. For those of you who are tuning in for the second time, this is a nice little recap story of what I've gone through since my last episode, all the crazy surgeries I've overcome, all the obstacles that I'm still overcoming on a daily basis. And I'm here to share the world of the crazy story of Katie Gilbert and her trials and tribulations of domestic violence and also being a gunshot victim.
Well, thank you again for joining us, being able to follow up, and we've seen how far you've come in your progression. So just give the folks a little bit, a short kind of just cliff notes of how your eye was injured and what you have done to correct that in the time that we've spoken to you last. Just give us a brief synopsis of that.
Sure. I first was injured April 7, 2018. I had lost my right eye, which I also suffer from a traumatic brain injury. Ever since the last episode, I have had a balloon surgery, which were balloons that were implanted on the side of my face. They were injected daily with saline. That was a failed episode of what not to do in the face and or head with balloons for surgical purposes. I wound up with about a total of 12 infections with the balloons. Roughly a year after the balloons, we tried to do some skin grafts. None of the skin grafts worked. In the last year and a half, we did a major surgery called microscopic skin tissue transplants. So what they did is they took a big chunk of my forearm and they transplanted it on the right side of my face to create room in order to build my eye socket in order to get the prosthetic. The problem is without the eye socket, there's nothing to actually hold my eye prosthetic. That is where we are at now. We're trying to create room to create an eye socket to hold a prosthetic. The problem is there's numerous infections, numerous setbacks. At one point, my tendon had fallen out of my arm after we had done the tissue expander transplant to my face. That left me in bed for roughly 9 months, hooked up to wound vac machines. That was one of the hardest parts for me, not being able to get out of bed. I'm a very outgoing person. I like to go. I have 2 kids that like to keep me on my toes. And being bedridden was really hard and a real big test of patience for me. Not just the pain aspect, but literally not being able to get up and get out of bed. I had to stay in bed to heal, and that was the hardest part.
Woo! Okay, we got a lot. Really quick, can I ask Katie, if you're comfortable, before I ask the next question, just so people can see what we're talking about? Are you okay with showing your?
You want me to take the hood and the hat off?
You can just
I can
show
that.
your, and then you can put it back on just to show the audience.
I can do that.
Okay.
Yep, I can do that.
Okay, go ahead. Yeah, okay. Go ahead.
So with the tissue expander, what we had done was we had actually transplanted my forearm to the complete right side of my face. So it starts here, comes all the way up, wraps around here. So what they did was to create all this extra room in this area. So right here can actually replace the eye socket to hold the actual prosthetic in place here. So I will actually look at someone eye level rather than the off-kilter aspect of things. But yeah, this is actually my forearm. on my face. Not a lot of people can say that.
And so I want to ask, you just brought tears to my eyes. Woo! For the audience moving forward, and I probably should have said this before, this is graphic, and I'll put a note in the beginning of the description. Katie, you are a soldier. You are a soldier. Before I just want to say that you are a true warrior. You are a true soldier. Can you tell the audience how, because they a lot of people probably didn't watch the last episode, but how your eye was injured and what caused the damage to your eye?
Sure. So April 7th, 2018, my son's father and I, we got into an altercation over money, of course. And he found a lump sum of money in my bedroom. It stirred a ruckus, caused a fight. He had actually punched me in the face and physically knocked me out, which is what took my eye and destroyed my eye socket, on top of smashing my sinus cavity here and up here. Once I passed out from the actual punch to the face, that's when Steve had actually shot me on the side of the head with a shotgun that was loaded with birdshot. There were 12 pellets taken out of my head. However, I still have 6 in there. So all these surgeries we have been doing has been all reconstruction to my face to put back all the broken parts, for lack of better words.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yes. Now, with the recent, procedures and things like that. Well, first, how long has it been actually since we've spoken to you last? And I know you said that there was 8 procedures since we last spoken. How are those spaced out in timing? Are you, still in pain from the first one when you go into the next? What is that process like?
2023.
With all the
2023.
Yeah, I met you guys in. When did I meet you guys? Well, I met you guys in
probably the end of probably
22.
2022, and we did your episode in 2023. Yeah.
Yeah, because I got the balloons right. Yes, I did the balloons right after I first met you guys, I believe. Yeah. So with the balloons and all the failed attempts, each balloon came with its own extra infection. So the first balloon, I had actually had one here, and I had one here on the right side of my head. So the one here was actually the first one that they had to surgically remove because it wasn't deep enough in the skin, and it was actually the balloon itself was protruding through my face. So after that was taken out, I got left with this one. This one lasted maybe a few months after that one. However, this one started getting infected, and I thought I had a toothache. Turned out the infection was actually inside at the bottom of my jaw from the balloon. So then this became another surgical procedure to take the balloon out. Now, when I say a surgical procedure to take the balloons out, they physically did it right there in the doctor's office. They just gave me numerous shots to numb the actual area and then deflated it and then pulled this crazy. And it's like a cube, a size of a cube, about this big, and it fills up with saline, and it's called a skin expander. However, nothing was healing in my skin, so they were protruding and not expanding my skin. So it left with lots of skin scar tissue and damage all through here. Then when we had done this procedure, the tissue transfer, the first procedure was great. It came with 7 days of in ICU. That was a rough time with pain. I was very angry, very irate. I did not want to be there. I wanted to go home. I don't like hospitals at all. So I went home after a week of ICU. Everything was good. However, my head was healing. My arm was not. So with my arm not healing and causing infections through my arm, they had to keep hooking me up to wound vacs, which were machines that I physically had to carry on my person that were suctioned to suck out all the infection and whatever fluids were draining from the actual incision or area. Once I got through the first stage of infections, everything was good. We went to go do a skin graft to cover up my forearm. However, my forearm never took to the skin graft. So I wound up with more infections, more wound vacs. That lasted about 4.5 months. The last 2 months of that, I caught a small infection on my arm. However, it was enough. It wasn't bad enough for antibiotic ointment to not be able to fix it. So that didn't turn into a whole surgical procedure. It seems like every time they went in to fix something, a week to 2 weeks later, I caught an infection and we had to go back in to scrub me down or surgically scrub it, surgically clean it. And the pain aspect wasn't that bad. It was more of like a uncomfortable feeling because people were looking at me while I had machines hooked up all over the place. I couldn't shower by myself. I couldn't make my own food. I couldn't tie my shoes. It came a lot with the surgeries. And now we are yet again at a standstill because my neurosurgeon doesn't think there's enough room to yet again to try to do my prosthetic. This surgery happened March of 2024, and I have been healing ever since then.
I was going to ask, did the doctors tell you why you were getting so many infections, and did they say why they didn't pause it? Just to get a transparency, because going through all that,
no, they didn't give me any details of what was going on with the infections or why. I was literally looked at and was like, with the balloons especially, one of the surgeons was like, this is a guinea pig trial we're going to try on you. Because the balloons they actually put in my face, right, they're actually known and meant for breast cancer survivors. That's what the purpose of these actual medical balloons, because they're skin inflators. So when a woman or man gets their breast cut off, they have these balloons in and it stretches the skin so you look normal. However, this is the first time they ever put them in someone's face.
So they were experimenting on you. You had to, I guess you had to sign a waiver that you couldn't sue.
It was, yes. And it was rough because my daughter was with me the second time the balloon had to come out. And she actually firsthand saw, was like, did you see the size of the needle they're going to put in your head? And I'm like, yeah, it's coming. I know it's coming. And it's literally, they don't even warm up. It's like, boom, boom, boom. Okay, now take a deep breath. And I'm like, what? You just stabbed me 5-6 times. And it's very, I have a lot of patience. It's hard because I know they're the doctors and they went to school for this. However, there's got to be other alternatives. Like, I can't be the only person that's ever had an eye socket issue or an eye issue with just a small area. And I've done numerous, things of research, but the doctors I'm a special case. Let's put it that way. That's how I kind of dumbed it down to myself from talking to them. Because for one, most people who get shot in the face and or head don't walk out 7 days later. I did. So I think they're still stuck in the, oh my God, she survived stage rather than how can we fix her stage? Because that's where I'm at with the doctors. Back in October, this past October, I had went to see the neurosurgeon after everything was healed from all this to see what's our next step. His words were, I don't think it's safe for you, and I wouldn't even know where to make the incision. Well, you went to school for 20-something years. You are a neurosurgeon. This is your job. How is it not possible? And I understand I'm a special case, so direct me in a direction that someone who is willing to have a discussion and take a chance on me, not just push me off for another 2 years and we'll try to figure it out again. Because that's how it's been. They're like, you're not healing. You still have so much scar tissue. Well, frankly, it's been 7 years. I just hit my 7-year mark. April 7th was 7 years. And I think it's very unfair in the medical stand field for someone who never asked to have an injury happen. You know, this wasn't a sports injury. I didn't know the repercussions of, you know, dating a narcissist. You know, if I knew this would happen, I wouldn't have signed up a long time ago. But I think it's very unfair in a medical standpoint that I'm suffering the way I'm suffering.
Now, I'm pretty sure we asked the last time we spoke with you, but please refresh our memory here. While you are, still being affected by this today, still going through pain physically and emotionally, what was the outcome of what happened to him? What was his outlook? What is it? What happened with, your case and him harming you in that way?
He was sentenced to a total of 25 years flat. If he's well behaved, he will get out in 21 and change. However, last March, right around the time I went in for this past surgery, I had done a New York State doc search, which I can because I like to search him and see where he's at and what he's doing and make sure he's still in prison, and nothing has shocked me. They did move him. The New York State Department of Corrections has moved him from a maximum facility to a medium facility because they are shutting a lot of prisons down out here, which I think is horrible. So he has an attempted murder charge, and this man is in a medium facility. However, he is also closer to me location-wise. I know he doesn't know that, but I know that. And again, with the domestic violence laws in every state, they don't notify me. I'm on Vine myself. I've never gotten a text message, an email, a phone call, nothing. All I know is he's sitting there doing his time. Whether he's doing it the smart way, I don't know. I hope it's nothing but misery. But however, he is still doing his time, and he's at a medium facility getting 3 hots and a cot. And I think it's preposterous that he's not. I wish I could say he's on death row, but he's not. And that's because I'm still walking, talking, and chewing bubblegum. Mm-hmm. You know, if I wasn't here today, it'd be who knows what his charge would have been or could have been or whatever the case may be. But I know he has an attempted murder charge, an assault charge, possession of a weapon, and they gave him 25 flat for being a 3-time loser in the state of New York for having that many felonies.
The system
is
not
it's the
safe.
Justice system, and I get that, and I know that, and I understand that, and I've accepted it. However, I have just learned to accept that in the last 6 months. It's tricky.
It is, and I'm about to jump all over the place. Before I get, because me and Sid will ask the same question. Sid will ask something, then I'm about to ask something. So this is, I'm actually speechless on a lot of pieces of it, but again, you are a warrior. Do you feel as though being shot and taking your eye on all the surgeries, and let me go back since the last time we left before the surgeries, do you feel as though after all of these surgeries that it has changed your physical appearance?
I do. I think it's changed a lot of my physical appearance. And it's crazy that you bring it up that way, because I just went to 3 school functions with my son's school 3 days in a row. And today was the easiest day. There were so many kids that just sparked my smile and made me so happy. However, there's also 90% of people who like to stare at me and not, simply ask. And, the scars are always going to be there. And I'm getting more and more scars as this process goes on. And at one point, I had thought about throwing the towel in with the surgeries because I was getting so overwhelmed of nothing working. It's, I now feel what cancer survivors go through, to where they're in remission, but it comes back. They're in remission, but it comes back. I'm the same kind of person that's going in the medical field that keeps getting their hopes up, and then I keep getting let down. I keep getting my hopes up and I keep getting let down. The scars I'm learning to deal with a little easier than I used to. However, I know they bother my children when we're out and about, especially my son more than my daughter. But it still hurts. It still rips me. I have people every day tell me how beautiful I am, how gorgeous I am, how I shouldn't worry about the eye. It doesn't bother them. However, there's still a part of me, and that part of Katie, that is dying to come back. And I will never be at that level of happiness until I get my eye back and I feel comfortable in my skin again, because I'm still not. I am, without a doubt, more of a warrior, more of a, for lack of better words, badass. However, I'm still this traumatized woman going through the toughest of trials and tribulations with something that someone else did to me. And the hard part is knowing the scars are there, but not seeing that end result is what makes me more upset and more frustrated with the medical field of things.
And with that, all being said, although what you're going through, your healing and everything requires you, I'm sure, to be, super focused on that. Has there been, any sort of attempt to get back to who you were, dating, anything that you may have been apprehensive about, when it, at the time when it kind of first happened? I'm sure it's something you can't get used to, but you're learning to live with it now. So are there any things that you have done to, what you say, try to get your life back, do things that you used to do? Or have there been any efforts to do that on your part?
I have, believe it or not, I have actually joined into the crazy world of volunteer work. I have met a few veteran organizations that have actually become my little happy homes ever since I started going through all these surgeries in the last few years. They have really helped me get out of my shell. I actually like to go out of the house and go hang out with these guys because they're actually a fun bunch of people. And I think more so being in public, I like hanging out with my veterans because I feel like I don't get judged as much, and as crazy as that sounds. Because when I'm out with the VA guys or my VFW guys or different organizations, when I'm surrounded by veterans, that seems to be the only one spot that makes me, I guess you could say, it humbles me a little better. Because I've seen things that they've gone through or heard stories of things they've gone through, and I'm like, this is nothing. But then again, I'm like, well, they couldn't handle what I'm going through. So there's I found a lot of happy places with new friends and new people in my life, but there's still, I don't know if it's that bottom gut feeling of, I don't know. I think feel like I'm just stuck in the race sometimes. Like that finish line is there, but I'm just that slow turtle, slowly making my way there. I feel like it'll get there. I don't know. I feel like I'm judged less when I'm out with the vets and my VFW guys. I don't know. There's something with the vets that just keep me safe inside.
Y'all have similarities. Y'all have all been through something. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, and it's like, even though the war stories, but yeah, they're a bunch of good dudes, and I met them like a year and a half ago, and just because I joined a VFW, and they kind of like suckered me into like their little sister, their little child, their granddaughter, and it's very humbling, very humbling.
That's good. At least you found
Austin, can you do me a favor? Can you get my soda out of Serena's room, please? I texted Angelo, but he didn't hear me. Sorry.
no, it's fine. He's fine. No, you're fine. You find your peace spot. That's awesome. It through stuff when you're going through healing, you have to find things that make you peaceful. I want to ask the last question on the balloon graphs. I want to ask someone that is going through that may have injury to the eye. Would you recommend them to try the balloon method?
Absolutely not. If I were to recommend any kind of medical, I would definitely make sure you go to the bigger cities. I have actually been fighting tooth and nail with New York University, NYU. I have been on a waiting list with them for probably 18, 19 months now. And the reason I'm on a waiting list there is I saw an article of a person that they did a whole face transplant with. And I was like, I want in on this. However, with the balloons were a total epic fail. I don't recommend anyone to try to do the balloons, especially in your.
But can you repeat that last part? It broke up. You wouldn't recommend them to do because of what? Sorry.
Yes. No. I wouldn't recommend the balloons to anyone if they're getting them in their face. If they needed them somewhere else in their body, who knows? But as far as your face goes, I highly don't recommend it.
Okay.
And I do recall you saying that you feel like your kids are a little bit more bothered, being out with you. What things have you noticed that make you feel that way? And has there been any significant discussions, with your kids about what, actually go on or what went on or what their understanding of, the scenario now?
It's hard with the kids. When my kids see someone staring at me in public due to the scars and whatnot, it depends on which one of my kids is with me and depends really where we are. Like if we're at the grocery store and my daughter sees somebody, she will be very obnoxious and be aware and let them know that I see them staring at me. But she will also go up to them and be like, if you knew the story, you wouldn't stare as hard. My son will fire back with a one-liner sometimes and be like, she was shot, but she's my mom. Or he'll fire off with, she's a badass. And he is only 11. So I allow him to let his emotions out. He does get upset and frustrated. And we do talk about it. And I'm very well known at his school. So a lot of the school people bring me up in little scenarios with my son. It's hard. I know he feels some sort of way deep down and in his feelings. Like he doesn't like anyone staring at me. But he also likes to remind people, she's not just a person. She's someone who suffered a crazy injury. It's so hard watching. It hurts me more because I know they feel it. They just try to put that tough skin on so they see that it doesn't bother me. But I know how they feel. I know how they feel without a doubt. It's hard.
And in a situation like that, I don't know, like, do you feel like
amusement parks is the worst place? Amusement parks is the worst.
Okay.
Especially the worst time of year, believe it or not, is Halloween. Because I don't know if they think it's makeup or if they think it's just I have a crazy mask on or if I'm really missing an eye. I've been asked some crazy things.
Wow. And do you think that affects their ability every day from what you're going through?
Yeah, I think they get aggravated because they see that I get aggravated. And I know it hurts their little feelings. And I know they're trying to learn and teach themselves coping skills on how to go through something like that. And I will tell you, my kids know they hate bullies. Like they are not the kinds of kids that take into people doing that. So when they see what I go through and they witness it on a different level at school, it's insane. Especially my son, we talk about it on a daily basis. Like, he knows when I go to his school, I'll put on special sunglasses, or I try to crack a joke to make the kids feel comfortable with me being around and not so scary looking, for lack of better words.
Isn't it on you, Demetrius?
No,
Okay.
that was me. Yeah, it's on you.
No problem. So once, what is the game plan now? I guess you haven't had a good, good road with the ballooning. Is there, another game plan in mind, or are you just at the point where you're like, as long as I can live through it, I'm good? Like, what is your kind of outlook here?
My major game plan right now, like, I have a big focus. I'm trying to find a way to get to Boston, because I'm literally only about 2 hours from Boston. It's the next biggest medical city around here. However, another obstacle I run into is I'm a Medicare, Medicaid recipient, which means I am totally stuck in the state of New York and can't go outside of the regions because I'm a state and federal funded insurance. So with that being said, I am going to try to find a way to find a doctor out there besides just Googling it. I don't want to just go to anybody. I want to make sure these surgeons know what they're doing. And I have a big fundraiser coming up. I have a couple fundraisers coming up, and I'm trying to push my story out there in hopes that I find another surgeon or more surgeons. Right now, with the surgeons I've just been hounding them on a monthly basis, sending emails. Has anyone decided anything? What's the next step? What's the next goal? What's the next idea? And I haven't met with everyone yet. Touch base in a couple months, and I've been getting that same touch base for a couple months since October. So right now I'm just the annoying patient who sends lots of emails and drives them crazy until they figure it out.
Yeah, I was going to say, have you thought about, I have two things. Have you thought about writing some of the doctors in Boston, telling them your story, sending them pictures of you? You may get someone that may be like, I'm going to do it. Sometimes it's that fate of
that is my big thing. I just didn't know where to start. I didn't know if I should just Google surgery specialties. I don't know. I just don't know where to start. And I think until I try to come up with a to-do list, or I make myself a to-do list on where to start or how to start and just go for it, I just don't know how to start.
I would do top surgeon.
I just don't know how to get my name out there without,
I would do top plastic surgeons,
and Boston, it's out there. I'm on the news. I'm on YouTube. I'm on Google.
And you could send them that. I would write a top medical doctor. I would tell them your issue. I would send them pictures and links to what you're going through and say, is there any way you can help me? I also wanted to ask, do you think that the doctors are here?
There's got to be somebody. I know when someone hears my story.
Yeah. Do you think that they're annoyed with you? The doctors, I know
as soon as someone hears it, they're going to go for it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Do you feel like they can do more? They're just not doing
I wish
more?
my doctors would help me see other doctors.
Okay.
I wish them using their cool medical degrees, they could be like, listen, I have someone who you need to see, but they're not doing that. They could help get me into someone so much faster.
Yeah, they probably can write
exactly
out.
But none of them are doing that. Yeah, they're just not. And I, as far as the medical field, I just don't know who else to grasp. Like, a lot of the organizations that I work with in case management, they've even tried to help figure out where to start. And we're just like, you know what? We're just going to get together one day and we're just going to go on Google with a notebook, and we're just going to start writing down email addresses and start sending things and clips of my like all the clips of the little articles I've done, all the speeches I've done, all these organizations I work with, you know, my Facebooks, my TikToks, my social media, my Instagram. I mean, I am out there. I have so many people who love the fact that I'm as strong as I am. I just don't know how to start and get that process going. I really don't. I just haven't found anyone to grab it with me.
Understood. What is?
I'm trying.
We can definitely see, and I do feel like that breakthrough is coming. You know, all of what you've been through will not be in vain. And that's kind of why I asked what was going on with so and so, because you know, it seems like even though we got that jail sentence, like you still are off easy. You know, in a sense.
And man, if I could even tell you about the phone call I got 2 weeks ago regarding him, you'd freak. But I don't know if I'm allowed to talk about it because I haven't got the proper fine line details.
Oh, okay. I'm about to say this is Unfiltered, Unspoken. You can talk about whatever you want on here. So we don't.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if the actual. If I can actually say what I was told, because I don't know if they're going to actually see this, so I don't want to insert foot when I shouldn't.
Understood.
But I know that they're all. I will say is I know there's an appeal out there. That's that I will say that I found out. I just haven't gotten the fine line details of how it works. Yeah.
Well, I hope the appeal gets denied.
Yeah. Yeah. To even have to rehash.
But I'm gonna. I have to find out, and I haven't made that phone call. Because I don't want to hear bad news on the other end. So I just haven't made that phone call to ask those questions yet, because I'm too much of a chicken shit to get more bad news. Because I don't want any more bad news. I've had enough for the last 7 years. I don't need more.
Respectfully, especially
not when it comes to him.
Yeah, especially
and some kind of any bonus plus package for him in any way, shape, or form. No, thank you.
It's horrifying.
I wish I could. Never mind. But yeah,
I agree with anything you was about to say.
I saw my world crumble.
Yes. And with that being said,
my world crumble. I was like,
what do you feel like is the most significant things that you feel like?
And it's crazy because maybe I should make that phone call, because it could be. Now, when we all hear that word appeal, we don't know in which direction it could, or whatever his crazy narcissistic mind is trying to contemplate. But because of the word appeal, it's just, in my eyes, like, how could you have the audacity to even waste the jail ink to fill out the paperwork? And the poor lawyers who have to help him, God rest their soul, if they only knew. It's like little things like that when I hear.
And they will know,
as soon as I heard that, I was like, you narcissistic prick.
And if they do, then
everyone's fire back was like, well, true. I'm going to start writing to everybody just to keep writing, because, and I know his first parole board hearing isn't for like another 5 or 6 years or something like that. But I'm not even just going to write letters. Like, they're going to see my crazy mug show up every time. I'm not just going to be one of those people that's standing there in the corner. Like, I'm going to cause a whole scene outside that parole board. Everyone's going to know that Katie Gilbert has showed the hell up for that SOB. I can't. It's crazy. It's preposterous that he even had the audacity to even, I don't know what he could even appeal. What is he going to appeal? His stupid time? For what? You're not going to get out. It's crazy. He'll die before he gets out of there. He's going to piss somebody off the wrong way and they'll get him. I'm surprised he hasn't yet, to be honest.
It's probably why
And
he
I
wants
still,
out.
and as crazy as I sound, like I still want to see all the pictures and like stuff from the case. Like I want to be able to sit down and look at all that stuff. And unfortunately, I can't do that because, well, there's an appeal. And as crazy as that sounds, that is the kind of closure that I feel like I'm going to be able to see, accept, and then I'll be able to have that aha moment when I've been able to see what I was put through, everything I went through, this, that, and the other thing. I really want to see the fine line details of what happened, not just the days of while I was in court watching and or testifying. I'm a nut like that. I'd like to know what the hell happened to me, and I just don't feel strong enough knowing that it was just a punch to the face and a shot to the head, because there's so much more to it than that. And I really I'd like to see what he actually said to these people when they asked all these questions. And as crazy as I sound, I really want to sit down with him. I know there's an organization out there that can help me with that, because I got some questions to ask. If he's feeling froggy and wants to write an appeal, well, I think I should feel froggy and write the senator, the congresswoman, the congressman. Man, I'll even write Donald Trump if it'll help me get me in there. Because he's letting everybody out too.
You need to do something.
Right? He just let Larry Hoover out.
God, look, Todd Chrisley.
And the Chrisleys. He let the Chrisleys out. He pardoned the Chrisleys.
What? I mean, granted,
who does that?
No, it wasn't anything criminal, but like
Larry Hoover one just threw everything on the.
I think it would be a good cause if he could.
And I know I'm not the only victim and or survivor, and that's another thing. I still want to change the act under domestic violence. I just need to find a lawyer who's willing to fight this battle with me pro bono, because I'm broke and I don't have money for lawyers like that. My end goal is to change that law to where it says Domestic Violence Victims Act. I want that word victim out, and I want survivor in there, because regardless of anyone's situation, we are not victims. We are not stuck. Our legacies are not stuck. Our memories of us are not stuck. We are not victims. We are a victim in that moment of that act of violence. And after that, we are a survivor, because we are all overcoming that demon somehow, some way. And that is my end goal. I will change that word from victim to survivor. I just don't know how to do it yet. That's another thing that's on my list.
I want to ask, God, I got two questions. How do you feel emotionally? How do you feel? How do you get up every day and cope with life and just want to be a part of life? What gives you the strength and courage, and just to be transparent with people, if you could tell the ups and the downs, like the struggles that you're having through this?
I would say my biggest struggle with what I deal with on a daily basis is not being able to work through that raw dog moment, to where I feel like my story is winning. What he did to me is winning, not me being a survivor. It's feeling stuck in that moment that, he popped in my head, or I'm talking about this in some way, or I just ran into someone that looks just like him, or something like that. My big thing is I wake up every day and I do the best I can to raw dog life. And in all honesty, because if I have a moment where I feel I sit on the couch and I start crying, or I can't get my head out of being stuck and he's stuck in my head, he wins. Because at the end of the day, he knows that he's getting to me somehow, some way, because I'm stuck thinking about him. So I do whatever I can in that moment, which is usually I get up and I grab something that I wouldn't normally grab, like a shoe or something sitting on the shelf. I grab something to redirect my mindset, because the more I stay stuck in thinking about him, he wins, because I'm stuck thinking about him and not what I should make for dinner on Tuesday night. So I find ways of coping with him and what he did with me through a whole lot of sarcasm. And when I say I raw dog life, I get up and I find a way to be more of a badass today than I was yesterday. And I do it so my kids know that, whatever life throws at you, it's going to knock you down. It's how you get back up and go back and kick ass and take names doing it. Because if you don't kick ass and take names doing it, you're just as bad as the person that tried to take you out or hurt you. Because when you stay stuck in those raw emotions, you get lost in the what used to be instead of the what can be. And that's where I always have to change my mindset, because when I stay stuck in the what used to be, like Katie with two eyes, no one knows the fun Katie with one eye now compared to the straight edge, worked 90 hours a week, two-eye Katie that just worked all day long. There's two different sides of Katie, and I'm kind of torn in between because I can't figure out which one I fit in right now. And that's one of the hardest parts for me.
Understood. Now, what have you found that, what is the biggest thing, I guess, or the biggest kind of issue with your kids? Or, yes, that's what I want to ask. The biggest issue with the situation and your kids, what is the hardest part of that for you? Was it, physically not being able to do what you could do before, just their memory of it all, how it's affecting them emotionally? What has been the hardest part for you going through this as a mother?
Ooh, the hardest part of going through this as a mother, that's a tough one. Is watching how traumatized my children are because of what one unhappy, angry, narcissistic man. My kids hurt on a daily basis because of what someone did to me. Not because of what I look like, but they see that I hurt. They see what I go through. They see the hard parts, like the other day walking into a wall when I was standing there next to my son, or being at the grocery store, or my daughter telling me something and knowing she told me. We both heard her tell me, but in 4 days later, I'm yelling at her because she didn't tell me because I can't remember because of my brain injury. The kids suffer the worst parts of what happened because they live it with me. They live it watching me struggle. The hardest part is I hate watching them watch me struggle. That is the worst part of it all, because we never want, as a mom, we never want our babies to see what it feels like to, again, raw dog life. We try to show our kids, sunshine and rainbows and everything's happy and this and that. And my kids, unfortunately, know the traumatizing side of life, and we've been dealt a very rough hand. However, we do what we can to come out on top and smile at the end of the day, because we still have the three of us. We have our little happy home. We have our little happy circle. If it wasn't for the three of us being as tough as we are, we wouldn't be that happy little traumatized family who's been through hell and back. And, we walk around with our heads held high. We don't let anyone know that we're having bad days. We show the world that no matter what the bad day is, we're going to come out smelling like roses, and we're going to conquer it one way or another, whether we are doing it blindsided, no pun intended, or I'm doing it with my 11-year-old and my 18-year-old walking me down the aisle in the grocery store. we will get through it one way or another, but as long as we're doing it together and we don't allow the negative to outrun that positive.
And I wanted to ask, I guess it's a 2 and 1, but they're really close. How has your son ever expressed to you how he feels about his dad? And do you feel as though your situation has traumatized your kids?
My son, he's asked questions about his father. His birthday got brought up in the last conversation we had about him because he had asked how old he was, and I kind of spit out his birthday like it was my birthday because it just came to me that way. And he doesn't really ask a lot of things like about the past. He doesn't remember a lot from when he was little, which, knock on wood, thank God. My son is one of the most resilient little humans I've ever met in my life, and my goal in life is to be as strong as he is. My daughter, she has a whole nother hatred for men. It's hard. She had seen all the fist fights go, and she's a little brute. She's a tough one. She is definitely all like me. She is a spitting image of me. You know, she watches my back more than anybody, and it's hard because I know she's traumatized, but I know she hides it because she doesn't want me to see it. But we are all screwed up. Like, there's no easy fine line. Like, we're messed up, but we're our own little messed up, and we're okay with that. We all have great therapists. We all have the tools to get through it. And when we can't get through it, we go to the other one, and the three of us try to work it out. Like, we really do put our whole heart into trying to figure it out when we're going through it. I've had probably one of the roughest last couple weeks, and you know, the kids have been right there by my side trying to help me get through it. And it's hard because when the trauma starts, it seems like it's a never ending snowball effect. But with us, we're trying to break that snowball effect, and we're trying to show others that you can come out of this. You can beat this. You can't stay stuck. You have to find a way to get through it. And trauma is just another word in a dictionary in my eye. It really is, because it comes in many shapes and sizes, and I'd like to beat the hell out of it on a daily basis. Because someone's trauma is nothing like mine, and mine is nothing like theirs. But I wouldn't try to trade shoes with anybody because I don't want anyone to walk in mine. Mine are a rough set of shoes to carry. It's not nice. I wouldn't want to handle somebody else's.
Understood. Outside of your kind of support that you gained since the incident, what has family looks like for you, if any, or what has friendship look like for you, if any? Do you have anyone that has kind of rode the storm with you, seeing it from top to bottom, and kind of still around, making sure you're okay? Or has that only turned into the friendships you've gained since being injured?
I will definitely have to say my sister has been my biggest ride or die since this has happened from day one up until now. She hasn't been able to really come out and be here for the surgeries or the recovering process. I have Austin, who is my second hand, my ride or die. He was with me. He's been with me for the last 2 years. We met on TikTok, which is crazy because he used to hate my eye jokes, and we met on TikTok, and he came all the way out here from Cali, and we've been two badass people trying to conquer the world at one time. He was with me through my last surgery, and he stayed in the hospital with me every day, and he took care of the kids while I was in bed, and he's been my big rock. I do a lot of crying to him. I do a lot of screaming. I do a lot of, he's my big heavy bag when I need to let all that anger and that frustration out. He sits there and he listens and he takes it. He takes it and he takes it. And without him being that rock that he has been for me for the last 2 years, going through this, to my doctor's appointments, taking me to every appointment, being there with me, watching me go through pain. And I will tell you what, this poor man had to literally give me car wash style showers because of all the machines I hooked up with. Like, he stepped up and did what he could and tried to make everything so much easier. He really is my big giant teddy bear. He takes all the pain away in that moment, and he's definitely a rock in my life, because I'd have lost my mind the last 2 years without him and my sister. Big time. Because I don't like to tell a lot of people that I'm going through what I'm going through. I just hide. I don't leave the house. You'll still see me on social media, but I'm going through it, and I just need to find a way to go through it. And between him and my sister, her answering my screaming phone calls and him picking me up off the floor from crying or giving me a bear hug because I'm out of control or I'm having a PTSD spiral, whatever the case may be, him and my sister have, without those two, I would not be able to take care of my kids the way I take care of them, be able to smile like I do now, get out of the house more. You know, Austin comes over and sits with my son a lot so I can go down and hang out with the VFW guys and get out of the house and go hang with my guys and get out of my mood. A lot of people wouldn't do that for me when I first got hurt. Like, a lot of people wouldn't just let me go and release that anxiety or sit down and relax and have a side conversation outside of what I'm going through. And Austin and my sister Lindsay they've really been my rocks.
I love to hear that you have a support. It's nothing without support getting through a trauma, and me and you can relate. Mm-hmm. I can't relate totally, but and I can relate. So God bless you again. We are at time. We're gonna go a little bit over. I'm gonna close it out. I just want to ask, what would you tell a parent? Because we're talking about kids and we're talking about people being in domestic situations and our kids watching it and what it leads up to. And at the end of the day, our kids have to go through the trauma with us, going through the healing piece of coming out of a domestic and being a survivor. And what I tell people is, even in a situation for people like us, we have a choice too. And sometimes we're so in, and we've been in situations, once you go so long, it's hard to get out. And that's what people don't realize. Like, just mentally, sometimes it's just hard to leave. It could be a kid, it could be a lot of things why we stay. What would you tell a parent with kids watching their child, watching them go through a domestic situation? What advice would you give? Because a lot of kids are watching these domestic situations, and we can go off and get help, but the kids are left more traumatized than anyone in the end. So what advice?
The advice I would give any parent when there's children involved: listen to your kids. The kids, as young as the kids are, and they see what's going on, and it's an adult situation, and we don't want to put our kids in that predicament where they're seeing an adult situation or they're hearing an adult conversation that they shouldn't be partaking in. The problem is the kids see the fights, the kids hear the fights, the kids witness the fights. Lucky for me, my babies were not there for the last fight. However, you don't want to wind up like me to where leaving becomes a late option. If you don't feel safe, or you know your kids feel some sort of way but don't want to leave mommy or don't want to leave daddy, it's better to leave and them being raised by one parent than not leaving and then being raised by one parent because the other parent is, for lack of a better word, out of the picture because of someone else's hands or guns or knives. I got very lucky to where I could walk away from my situation. There's a lot of people who have not. You don't want to stay in a bad relationship because of the kids. That's why I stayed. I didn't want my son to not have mommy. My daughter already had mommy. We lost my husband back in 2012. So Serena already knows what it's like to only have one parent. I didn't want my son to grow up that way, so I did what I could to stay with my son's father. However, I knew I had to get out. I knew it was the biggest thing. The hardest part is going to make that first move. But I'm telling you, there are so many ways to help you make that first move to where that big move is going to feel like going to the grocery store. If you don't tell anyone and ask for that help, no one's going to be able to know. And the hardest part is picking up that phone and saying, hey, I need help. I never made it to that point, and this is where it ended me. It ended me not just disabled mentally, emotionally, plus I have 2 kids that are traumatized. You know, they have to walk around the rest of their lives knowing that their mom got shot and she only has one eye. I don't want them to have to feel like any of this is their fault because I didn't leave because I want a mommy and a daddy. We can't stay because we think it's the right thing for our kids to have mom and dad in the situation. There's so many relationships where dad plays full-time mom and dad or mom plays full-time mom and dad. I've been playing full-time mom and dad to both of my kids the entire time. As a parent going through it, lived through it, and still trying to conquer it, I wish I left sooner. So me and my kids don't have to struggle on struggle street like we do on a daily basis.
Well, thank you again for being here, sharing your updates, and just speaking with us again. It's still
I got more emotional this time than last time.
Yes. So, but it's seeing yourself come out, to the other side or come out on the other side. It's crazy to think that we were just discussing what was to come, your surgeries and all of that. And, at this point you've been through 8. So, it's to put in perspective that the fight is well worth it. The struggle is well worth it. And we do hope that, we run across something medically that, will put you back on the right path of, who you want to be and where you need to be. So thank you again for being here with us this evening. As we always like to do, give our guests a chance.
Thank you for having me.
Oh, of course.
Absolutely.
We do want to give you the chance to kind of put yourself out there. There's things that you want turned around. There's certain messages you want to amplify, with your treatment and your care. So if there's anything that you want to tell our viewers, how they can help, how they can contact you, anything that you want to draw traffic to, any projects you want to advocate for, whether that's something else or yourself, you have the stage, you have the spotlight to share anything with us.
I am always open for discussions and always talking about my story with anybody. You can find me on my Facebook, which is Katie Kernahan. My Instagram, which is NavyGirl23. My TikTok is NavyGirlAS39. I'm always, like I said, willing to share my story. And I know sharing my story could help the next one. And if anyone's just ever having a bad day and wants to know how I've done it or wants some insight on how to or just wants to talk, I'm always around and I'm open for discussing anything. I'm willing to take the world of domestic violence to the end, and I'm to be the voice to change it.
Katie, we want to thank you so much for coming back. Both episodes were powerful. This one was powerful, a little more emotional, graphic. But we need transparency like this to filter through the world, and not just for women, but for men also, because men go through domestic situations as well. So we want people to know, but to see the abusers not getting the time that they should have, especially in your situation, uh, that should have been life with no parole. Um, but you continue to do all the hard work that you're doing, continue to spread your message, continue to be an advocate for your kids. You're so blessed to have some amazing kids, because some kids get bullied for these situations, but it's glad that you
Absolutely.
and look, your kids are an
Absolutely.
outcome of you. You've pumped your strength into your kids, and look, from a strong mom. So you should be proud.
Absolutely.
of
I have
yourself.
to. I have to.
Yeah. And you're beautiful. And you know that. And you're
Thank
beautiful.
you.
And continue to shine. You know, I'm watching you. I'm supporting. And when you get that GoFundMe up that says that you need help for plastics surgery on your eye and
Yes, that's what
video.
I'm telling you. And I'm waiting.
Yeah.
I'm waiting.
Yeah, so I mean, you can get that stuff going. So just you have the followers, you have a lot. So
Yes.
just before we leave, that's something that I would do, get a GoFundMe up or something and put your pictures and tell people. I think people really support it. Once you get that up, send it to us. I'll definitely share on my page. So you have my support. But continue your fight. And
Okay.
for anyone that's
Absolutely. Thank you.
my pleasure. And for anyone that's going through a domestic situation, you have two females sitting here, and I'm about to wrap it up because we went over time. But you have two females sitting here, Katie, who was shot in the eye, and me, that was brutally beaten and stabbed 6 times. Katie was brutally hit too, so we're not going to leave that out as well. So you have two females up here just encouraging you. That's why we do the work that we do. See it in the eye to spread the message, not just for domestic violence, but for all life traumas. But the specifics of why this started was behind domestic violence. So please keep advocating. People, please take domestic violence seriously. If someone that you know is being abused, don't be afraid to pick up the phone and call them boys on them. Don't support your friends. Don't support your family for domestic violence, because you're more involved than they are once you do. And just hold your friends and family.
They are.
Yeah, hold your friends and family accountable. That's my advice. Hold them accountable. You know what they are doing, and it's wrong. So thank you, Katie, again. We want to thank everyone for tuning into Unfiltered Unspoken
Thank you,
podcast.
ladies.
You're welcome. And hold 1 second, Katie. Sid, we're going to keep sharing those life experiences, right?
That's right.
That's right. So
Okay.
if you learned anything
Absolutely.
from this episode, we are on the fight against domestic violence.
Be a badass.
And be a badass. And if you have kids, your kids are watching, so you're affecting them more than you could be potentially be in hurt of yourself. So just think about your kids through this process, because they don't need to see a parent getting abused. Peace. No, not at all.